Well, now to the controversial issue of brutality on the border. Members of the Latino community have journeyed to Washington, D.C. to speak out to their House representatives and White House staffers about the brutality Latinos have faced along the southern border. Among them, the father of this woman, 32-year-old Valeria Tochican, who was a mother of 5, and she was fatally shot by U.S. Border Patrol in September of last year. Well, her father, Valentin Tochican, joins us now to tell us his family's story. Also joining us is Christian Ramirez, director of the Southern Border Communities Coalition, which helped organize this trip to the Capitol. Appreciate both of you making it in here today. Valentin, I know that this is something that is very hard for you to talk about, so we appreciate you coming on the show to tell us your story. Want to start off by asking you how and why your daughter was killed.
Well, up to this point, we haven't received any real information as far as why did this agent brutally kill my daughter. He shot her 9 times, and as you mentioned, she's a mother of 5. She was a mother of 5, a great daughter, a great loving person, and we just haven't received any answers from the Border Patrol Agency or the Chula Vista Patrol. Where in that city that this happened.
9 times. That's a lot of shots that were fired. You have any indication why the Border Patrol agent fired that many times?
Well, according to the information, is being mentioned that somehow my daughter hit this officer, and he ended up in the hood of the car, which is contrary to some of the witnesses, which are saying that my daughter was shot while this officer was sitting in his 2 feet.
Yeah, she had 5 children. I see that you have a photo of her there that you brought in. How has this tragedy affected your family?
Well, you know, there's a void inside of all of us. Even now, every time I leave, I'm feel, you know, I got my wallet, I got my cell phone, I got everything with me. But if I'm feeling like something is missing, like I'm not complete, and I know that my family will never be the same again, ever. Even if I'm doing these streets and all this information that I'm giving out, at the end I know my daughter won't ever come back.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that this happened to your daughter. Christian, I want to ask you if Valentin's story is unique.
Unfortunately, it is not. Brutal killings at the U.S.-Mexico border are systematic. In the last 2 years, 20 unarmed civilians have been shot and killed by Border Patrol agents. Several others have been seriously injured. This amounts to a killing or a serious beating every single month. This is not a case of a bad apple in a corporation. This is a case of a culture of violence within the largest law enforcement agency in this country that's run out of control. And that's why we have come to Washington, D.C. this week to ensure that members of Congress hear the message loud and clear. This folks at the U.S.-Mexico border cannot continue to die in such a brutal way as Valeria died.
Now, I know that you have been meeting with elected officials. What have you asked them to do? And so far, how have they responded?
What we have asked them to do is that as the conversation for comprehensive immigration reform moves forward, that we have balance in terms of how our enforcement is carried out, that we cannot continue to enforce the U.S.-Mexico border, militarize the U.S.-Mexico border without checks and balances. We know that there's going to be some enforcement triggers in this pathway to citizenship that we urgently need in this country, but we want to make sure that the voices from border communities are heard. The story of Valentin, the story of the Tochican family is not unique, unfortunately. And that's how members of Congress, that's the story that members of Congress heard today. So we are leaving Washington, D.C. with an assurance that members of Congress are realizing that the policies they're drafting, they have to keep in mind the story of Valeria Monique Tochican, the story of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas, and the 20 other civilians who have been killed on the U.S.-Mexico border.
Now, Valentin, you traveled all the way to the nation's capital to make your voice heard. Are you confident, or are you hopeful that it's going to bring about some kind of change?
Well, I just know that today my voice and the voices of all of us who came today, they were heard. Now, we don't want this to be a voice in the wind. We need some type of action taken, and we don't have any more time to be wasting time or lives.
All right. Gentlemen, really appreciate you coming in and telling us your story, and I wish you the best of luck. That was Valentin Tochiken, the father of Valeria, and Christian Ramirez, the director of the Southern Border Communities Coalition.